Hi, this is the video of the day for the 1906 diary. We had quite a storm here yesterday, not long after I finished up with my videos, thunder and lightning and pouring down rain. And so at the moment, hopefully that won't resume. The sky is pretty clear, but at the moment it's quite windy. So hopefully that the sound of the wind blowing won't disturb things with the video. And I have a roof over my head. Let me see, you can, if I can move my hand, you can see it. And so I am pretty safe where I'm at against having to move because of rain. Is that thunder? All right, so we have today the 16th of April, 1906, which is, or was, I should say, a Sunday, just like it is today here on August 18th. Okay, here we go. I'll soon be going to dinner at that palace. Today there's a dinner for the 1st and 2nd Battalions. It was Maria who intrigued me about dining, and even though she's disgusting, I should be grateful to her for that. Tomorrow they'll bring the boat to the pond for us. It's so strange. It's the same one that was there when we were little. GM walks around in a state like he can't forgive Maria for yesterday's bad behavior, and that's more than understandable. What if the weather is bad tomorrow and we have to be in the manege? That would be aggravating, and I would probably get confused. Oi, devil take it. We were at liturgy this morning and then at Sunday lunch. After lunch, Maria talked with the convoy officers and was so stuck up that it was terrible, and she talked so much that she didn't stop even after the Empress stopped talking. In the afternoon, I was busy again working on the sleepers of the little railroad. It's a lot of fun, but I'm horrified to think that I won't be able to finish and it will be left all torn apart. What a scandal. But I don't think that's going to happen because it would be too shameful. My stomach is in knots thinking about tomorrow, but I'll pray very hard, and God willing, everything will be all right. I'm not at all scared to go to the dinner this evening because I know almost everyone who will be there. Yes, I experienced a big event today. This morning, the battalion presented me with a jeton, very beautiful with diamonds, and the band leader dedicated the march he composed for the 50th anniversary of the battalion to me. I need to put my tunic on 7:45, so he was riding before this big dinner, and I don't know how long it would take him to get to that palace, but I guess dinner was served around 8 o'clock, it sounds like. Okay, so I don't know, I just flatly don't know what he means when he talks about Maria intriguing him, because I think he'd been to one of these dinners, and I think he knew what they were like, but she had always told him about them because she'd been going to them. So maybe that's what he means, and he's still upset with her. She's disgusting, he writes, and he doesn't blame GM one bit, even though he himself has been so angry at GM at times. He doesn't blame GM for not quite yet forgiving Maria for slamming the door in his face and then throwing an orange at him the day before. Okay, let's see. Yeah, he's afraid that if the weather is bad and they have to be in the manege, it will throw him off, and and he'll make mistakes. He's still very nervous about this event that's going to take place on Monday, on the next day. And he's sort of, disgusted with the way his sister is carrying on a little bit with these convoy officers. So the convoy were the personal escort of the Tsar, and they wore Cossack uniforms with the papacha, the woolly hats, and these long sort of kaftan-like tunics that were blue with cartridge holders on the chest, and I'm sure you've seen them. Or, if you look at pictures of Nicholas II and Alexei, and sometimes the other members, sometimes Alex and the girls, you can see them. There are plenty of pictures out there about them, and I wish I had one of my books at hand. So that was a lack of foresight on my part, not to have a picture at hand to show the convoy officers, but they were quite dashing, and Maria was 16, and Dimitri says she was terribly stuck up, but I would imagine that she was kind of flirting a little and enjoying that. I mean, she couldn't have done it too openly, but yeah, maybe. I shouldn't say that. I guess I don't know if she was flirting, but I guess it was a rule or sort of the custom anyway that when the Empress stopped talking, then you would stop talking too. But Maria was just chatting away, and Dimitri thought that was kind of, I don't know, kind of silly of her, I guess. Maybe after lunch, the ladies would go and say hello to the convoy officers and chat with them a little bit, or maybe they had been actually participants in lunch. I don't know. It's interesting to learn about the way things worked at court from the little pictures that we get of it in Dimitri's diaries. So let's see. He is back to working on his railroad. He loves that so much. I wonder how much help he had, if he had sort of footmen or groundskeepers coming with him into the little garden and helping him with the sleepers, or, maybe he was doing it all by himself. Maybe he didn't want any help, but he's worried that he's not going to be able to finish it. He kind of, he'll get into that. Well, his aunt has already told him that they will be going to Moscow and then on to Ilinskaya, but yeah, that shouldn't be until the summer. But he does not want to, having torn the thing up to fix it, he certainly doesn't want to leave it in that state, and apparently if he did leave it in that state, nobody would go out there and fix it. Okay, so more about the big event tomorrow. He's going to pray very hard because he's so nervous about it. His stomach is in knots. So how religious was he? Yeah, he seems to have been fairly, even though he didn't like to go to confession, he doesn't really complain about church services unless they go extremely long. And yeah, I think it was genuinely he clearly genuinely believed in prayer, and that at the very least he should hedge his bets and ask God to make sure that this goes all right. He's so fearful of messing things up, especially in front of the Tsar, and he includes a little cross, as he often does, after saying that he's going to pray very hard, and that he hopes God will listen to him and everything will be all right. I wanted to talk a little bit, going back a little bit to the railroad, about how important this continued to be for him as an adult. And there's one sort of a little bit melancholy, a little bit sad, one scene that a friend of his wrote about him. This friend, he would assemble little groups of friends to come after he was divorced and before the French chateau had been sold to Beaumesnil. He would invite little groups of male friends to come to spend the evening with him, and he would and he didn't have the means to pay for electricity for this place. So he wasn't actually living in the chateau. He was living in a smaller building. And his son, Paul Ilinsky, told me about that that they didn't live in the chateau. And I subsequently learned from Ed that they weren't able, that Audrey wasn't able, even before they divorced, Audrey wasn't able to convince the trustees, I guess, that were in charge of her money to give them enough money to renovate the chateau. So they lived in a smaller house on the grounds. And so that was where, after the divorce and before the chateau was sold, that was where Dmitri would invite his friends, and he would save the electricity for when they would walk over to the chateau itself, which was where he had his model railroads. And so he would only run the electricity then when he was showing them, and when they were running the model railroads, and the rest of the time not. I mean, I presume they had electricity in the little house, but not in the chateau. Okay, so, and then it was funny, the friend wrote that he would then choose a victim, in the friend's words. He would choose a victim to go upstairs with him. Everybody else would get to go to bed or leave, but the victim would be expected to go up and keep him company, because he was, at that time, he was kind of aimless, and he was staying up he had insomnia, and he was staying up into the wee hours and then sleeping during the day, and he would ask one of his friends to keep him company and go and have long conversations, spend the night, the friend said, until about 1 in the morning, having conversations. And so his friends apparently didn't really enjoy that, but they went along with it. Anyway, I was talking about railroads, and then I got off on a sidetrack, pun intended. All right, so he's praying very hard. He's worried about tomorrow. The dinner, he says he's not worried about. He's not afraid of going to dinner this evening, because I know almost everyone who will be there. So this was a big issue for him. If he didn't know people, so I gather from the diary entries that have come before, if he didn't know people, he was quite shy around them and tried to avoid them. But in this instance, he's happy because he pretty much knows everyone. And if you recall, in the previous diary entry, he was afraid of receiving the officers of the battalion, which he did that morning. They came and they presented him with a jeton, which I've looked up since yesterday, and it's like a little metal, almost sort of coin-looking thing. It's made of metal, but it's also a metal, medal, but not a military medal. And wow, they really went out. They really went all out and spent a lot of money, apparently, because the one that they gave him had diamonds. Okay, and this anniversary march has been dedicated to him. So this is heady stuff for a 14-year-old. And I wish I knew the name of that march and if it still is ever played. Maybe at some point I'll be able to find out if it survived. I guess unless it was, particularly good, it probably hasn't survived, but it would be really cool to hear that march that was dedicated to our little friend. All right, so he needs to put on his tunic, his uniform of the 2nd Battalion, and go over for this dinner. And I need to conclude because I've been going far too long. And all right, I'll see you next time. Bye.